I thought we'd do a quick video on taking prisoners of war because it's been a constant throughout the ages. Look, I could go back to ancient times where, frankly, taking prisoners was not the norm. And this is where the word slave or servus comes from in Latin. It's the idea of a spared person because effectively you're dead. And the fact that you've not been killed and you've been taken prisoner, yes, you're still alive, but you're literally a walking dead person, basically. That was the meaning of the word servus or servus. And this is why the Romans, didn't give a damn what they did to their slaves until much later, much later. It couldn't go back that far. To the Greek cities battling one another, the idea of, making a hole in the wall as soon as that's done, your chance of quarter is now over. The fact we've breached the wall and you've not surrendered. But I'm not going to talk about that now because I can't be bothered. What I'm going to talk about now is very, very focused on World War One. How would I personally have taken a prisoner? Okay, so look, I would not have been fighting in World War One. I would have been a conscientious objector. I would have been a stretcher bearer, which was just as difficult, if not and dangerous, if not more so. So I must put that out for the starters. But let's say I was an officer. What would I have done? Because let's just lay the groundwork out here. In 1916, we did not know how to take prisoners. This was one of the problems, okay? Washed over the Somme. In the north, didn't do anything. But in the south, we flooded the German trenches, along with the French. The French did, brilliantly because they'd been practicing for 2 years. In the south, made great progress, took a load of prisoners. But there was this problem that you go over their trenches, you've lost maybe 50%, 67, you've lost big percentage of your men. And then who's left to take prisoners? You have an objective, you have several objectives, and your objective is still, another 1,000 yards in the future in front of you. What do you do? You got a load of prisoners surrendering. There's 5 of you. There's 100 Germans, and your objective is still half a mile away. Unfortunately, at that time, what's very often happened was we would not handle the prisoner situation well. We'd just send them off back, thinking, well, surely they'll observe the laws of cricket. They won't fire in our backs. And the reality was they did. The people who'd 1 minute surrendered, they would immediately find a rifle or a Lewis gun, was their favourite, and then machine gun the advancing troops in the back. Because they were thinking, I don't want to go off to captivity in Britain. I'd much rather stay here with my unit in Germany with all my German friends. I much prefer bratwurst over those vile English sausages. And I don't blame them for that. But this is what would happen. Time and again, take prisoners, not properly dealt with, and then they would basically be allowed to go back and, make their own way to our lines, during which time they would rearm themselves. How would I do it? Okay, let's get to the point. How would I do it? So, point my Webley at them, obviously, or ideally a Luger if I had one. Although I think a Webley is more reliable. I would say hands and hock, which means get your hands over your head, and hopefully they do. If they at this point look submissive and they put their hands up and look terrified, fine, we proceed. If not, sorry, but I shoot them. Okay, second point. At this point, we approach them very carefully. We do not take the gun off them at this point. And we say to them, Hast du Waffen? Do you have a weapon? And if they nod, we don't let them move their hands. We search them very carefully. And we take note to where the weapon is. But if they shake their head and they look terrified and we don't think they have, we just pat them down a little bit, make sure they have no weapons on them. And at this point, after that, we say, Dein Gürtel, raus! Which, I'm not sure that's the best German, but it means get your belt off. Not because we're going to beat them or something, but because, although it's a Dad's Army joke, the veterans often did this. It's a very good idea if you're taking a prisoner for their trousers to be falling down around their ankles. So you literally get them to take their belt off. And you hear many veterans talking about this. This is what they did. The other reason was they loved getting the Gott mit uns belt buckle. So you want their belt for 2 reasons. For their trousers fall down and for the belt buckle as a souvenir. So, Gürtel, raus! And then, personally, I would probably say to them, für dich, dieser Weltkrieg ist fertig und Ende. The world, the world was over for you, mate. That's what I would do. But, it's still it's a difficult business taking prisoners of war. You can see why the Aussies and the Canadians, for the most part, didn't bother. Well, that's a lie. Obviously, they did bother. But they did get complained to the International Red Cross because they preferred to shoot them or bayonet them. But just an interesting topic. Anyone got any interesting experiences in the comments? Let me know.